Hey, welcome to the Toadstead. Wow. I just mentioned this little simplicity at the end of a video, and while I didn't get a lot of comments on it, I sure got a lot of private messages. So just go ahead, I'll figure, make a video, and we'll see where this goes. The story behind it is, it's a 73 or 74, I can't remember. Simplicity Sovereign 3416. And it's the, what does that say? The H model, I think, is what it was, because this is a hydrostat trailer, so it's tractor, so yeah. And some friends of mine brought it from out west a few years back, and it just got too cantankerous for them. They put a new carburetor on it, they did some other stuff to it, and, you know, as anybody who has a homestead will tell you, you really need to have at least one decent piece of machinery. And this one wasn't cutting the mustard for him. So I went ahead and bought it and figured I'd tinker around with it. Didn't know, and still don't know a whole bunch about it, except that it's an Orphan. They're not built anymore. I think they quit building them in the mid-late 70s. It's got a Briggs & Stratton one-cylinder 16-horse engine. And this one here, I've tinkered with it a bunch. I've got it running, but quite frankly, it runs like poop. And that's mostly because of that carburetor. Evidently, that carburetor has a bit of a reputation for being, well, shall we say, a challenge to keep going, especially if you don't know much about them. I've done a bunch of research, and I think I can get it going. Now, why am I bothering with something like this? Mostly because this one, while dirty from sitting, what looks like rust there is not. It's just dirt. It needs a really good bath. And with the exception of, you know, the typical seat rips, there's some homemade parts on top, it's hard to see, but there's little rips in the seats and whatnot. This thing is actually in pretty amazing condition for its age. I know these are highly sought after by some of the tractor racers, which I didn't know a whole lot about until I started looking into this thing. And some people just really, really like messing with these old tractors. And I call it a tractor because to call this a lawnmower is not fair. It's either a lawnmower on steroids or a tractor that somebody left in the dryer, because it's rather small. It's maybe only a foot longer than my the Craftsman rider that I have. It's actually way bigger than my zero turn, but these things are built like the proverbial brick outhouse. And this one here doesn't have any of the rust that you see in them. Down along the bottom of the frame, in this joint right here especially. The other side looks exactly the same. It's not in a very well lit area right now, so I got just the best I can do. But, I mean, and it's also pretty darn original. Somebody changed out the steering wheel, and a previous owner had put a little like a Johnny bucket on the front of it, and it worked, and I've got it. But, you know, so they installed some switches and things like that. I stripped out a bunch of wiring out of this, trying to get it down to the basics, because as I'm learning, I want to make sure that I don't have anything that a previous owner put on there that doesn't show up in the manuals. The deck is very clean underneath. It's only got a little bit of surface rust that you can see, and that's actually little grass clippings and stuff. That's not rust. It's just surface rust. It has the stock wheel weights. They put some decent tires on it. The tires are all in really good condition with some nice aggressive semi-ag tires on the back. All in all, this is a pretty neat little tractor. It even has a front PTO. I don't know if that's going to show up. Let me see if I can get in there. No, probably not. But just underneath, sticking out of the crankshaft, obviously the crankshaft this way runs to the mechanizations for the tractor itself, but sticking out the front appears to be a 1-inch power takeoff shaft directly off the crank. So that's kind of neat. I know they had snow blowers for these and other implements, and it has what's called a mule drive in the back. Now this one is actually missing the little parts right here, the pulleys that are in the back, but the rest of the drive is all still there, and I have no reason to believe it wouldn't work. I've seen this tractor run, drive, and cut. The previous owners, the friends of mine, did in fact use it as their home lawn tractor workhorse for a few years. Like I said, just before it got to the point where it was just too cantankerous for it to be their lead vehicle. So now it's here on the Toadstead. So if you're a Simplicity fan and know anything about this one, again, it's the 3416, I believe, H. Drop me a line. We're going to have fun with it. The Toadstead is in no position to really do what you'd call a major restoration of an antique tractor. That's not our style. But if I can get this thing running really nice, maybe it'll make somebody who does like this kind of vehicle a nice toy for them. So I'll take you along as we do stuff, keep on update. But this is pretty much a side job.